Hey guys, LevelCap here, and we've got Armored Kill right around the corner with Battlefield 3. No new guns in that, however, I really haven't taken a look at the A-91 much, at least in a YouTube sense. I've messed around with the gun in game a bit, but I really haven't used it much on YouTube at all. In fact, I don't think I have very much footage of me using this gun really, and there's a lot of cool things about this gun, and I know a lot of people actually like this gun. It's got some very specific uses. It has some faults definitely, but it's still an interesting carbine that's available for the engineer class. Now this weapon can be tailored a little bit for different situations, but one thing I will say is that if you don't have a foregrip on this gun, you're using it wrong. You absolutely want to have a foregrip on this gun, no matter what your situation is, unless you're trying to go for some weird bipod build, but you just don't want a bipod with this gun anyway. It doesn't have the accuracy to complement one. So slap a foregrip on this thing because it has some of the highest side-to-side recoil of any of the carbines. In fact, it does have the highest side-to-side recoil, and you combine that with an 800 round per minute rate of fire. The foregrip is the best friend possible for the A-91. You just absolutely have to tame that side-to-side recoil before you can even begin sculpting this gun into something more usable. Now, most carbines don't really have a very impressive base accuracy. It's not to say the guns are inaccurate, they just become quite inaccurate after the first few bursts, so it doesn't make them particularly effective weapons at long ranges. Not to mention, their minimum damage drop-off goes down to 14.3, so you can imagine it will take you quite a few shots at long distances to take out your targets. That being said, I would not recommend putting any sort of magnified scope or sight on these weapons. I would recommend just going with a red dot sight or Cobra, whichever one you're more comfortable with. So what sets the A-91 apart from the other carbines out there? It has an 800 round per minute rate of fire, making it one of the faster firing carbines available. And it also has a great hipfire accuracy. In fact, its hipfire accuracy is only tied by the MTAR and the QBZ. So this is one of the weapons that is designed for hip firing for the engineer. So in order to take more advantage of that, the foregrip helps, and if you really want to accentuate the hip firing capabilities of this weapon, you can put a laser sight on this gun, and that is one of the setups I would recommend for using this weapon, is a foregrip and laser sight. You will have absolutely amazing hipfire accuracy, but then again, hipfire should only be used in close quarters. Now sadly, this weapon has a fault that really restrains it from performing excellently in close quarters, and that is a really long reload time, clocking in at 2.62 seconds if you have a bullet in the chamber, and a huge 3.3 seconds if you've spent all your ammunition. So this is a really long reload time, and it can often lead to your death in close quarter engagements. In fact, while playing with this gun on Team Deathmatch, I think probably about half of my deaths were attributed to being caught while reloading with this weapon. Now, even if you are extremely fast at switching to your sidearm, a good player will be able to take you out before you're able to get any shots off if you get caught while reloading a gun. Now, there's a few different mindsets of working with a gun that has really good hipfire capability in its stats. One is to just really take that stat and push it to the max with the laser sight and get the best possible hipfire. The other mindset, and one that I actually kind of prefer, is why not equip something on this gun to make it more accurate at aiming down sights. You will reduce the hipfire accuracy a little bit, but it will still maintain a very accurate hipfire capability. So I actually prefer using this weapon with a foregrip and heavy barrel. The heavy barrel not really benefiting the hipfire, but also not taking away from it enough to make it bad at hip firing. So you're still able to pull off some pretty good hipfire kills in close quarter situations, and the heavy barrel just really complements this carbine for improving the accuracy at longer ranges. Am I going to be able to pull off a dense bullet cluster just like I can with the M4A1 using the heavy barrel on this? No, I'm not going to be able to shoot as accurately as the M4A1. However, I will be able to shoot more accurately than the M4A1 while hip firing this weapon, even with a heavy barrel on it. So you have the trade-off in losing a bit of accuracy at range when you compare this to other carbines, but you also have a great hipfire. So it basically brings the range in a little bit closer and gives you a carbine that's a little bit more powerful in close ranges, especially when you get caught unexpecting, because that hipfire is great for twitch reflex style gameplay, the kind of situations where you're not expecting somebody to come around the corner or somebody sneaks up on you and you have that half second to react and take them out before they do. You don't want to aim down sights, you want to hipfire them. Now, one thing that can be hard to get used to with the A-91, especially at ranges, is that the first bullet recoil multiplier is pretty significant. It has a first shot recoil multiplier of 3, which is higher than any other carbine available. So you basically have this first shot that's going to kick the gun back, and then all your remaining shots after that are not going to have a very high vertical recoil. Based on this alone, it really does look like this gun was designed to sort of prevent effective long-range encounters, and I will admit it is a bit hard to get used to using this gun to hit targets at range. You just have to get used to that initial kickback, and if you can sort of ride out that initial kickback and manage the recoil a little bit, you will be able to take out targets at long range. It's just an odd recoil to sort of get used to, and you do have to play with it for a while. I didn't actually come into feeling comfortable with this gun until I had a few rounds under my belt. Now, coming back to my preferred setup with this weapon, which is heavy barrel foregrip Cobra, another reason to use the heavy barrel on this weapon, and likewise most carbines, is that the heavy barrel actually increases the bullet velocity coming out of carbines. Now, without a heavy barrel, this gun only shoots at 420 meters per second, which I have to say is actually kind of on the low side. Even for carbines, it's not very fast. Now, if you slap a heavy barrel on this thing, it bumps it all the way up to 560 meters per second, making this a much more effective weapon at long ranges. You don't need to lead as much with your targets if you have a heavy barrel. Now, several days ago, I made a video on the potentially leaked patch notes, which ended up being patch notes that were over a month old, but it was confirmed by Zinto that the patch notes were actually legitimate, and they talked about increasing the reload speed for a lot of weapons. I did not see the A-91 on that list. This doesn't mean that the A-91 won't have its reload speed increased, but there's a good chance that it will just remain unchanged in the upcoming patch. And unfortunately, this means that the A-91 is going to be a gun that I probably won't end up using that much, just because the reload speed really does keep it from becoming an effective weapon. It doesn't have an accuracy at range to compare to guns like the M4A1 or the Scar H, so I really can't use it at those ranges as effectively, or would I want to use it at those ranges. So I'm sort of forced into a situation where I have a gun that's mediocre at longer ranges, decent at medium ranges, and pretty darn good at close ranges, but its reload speed just absolutely kills me in close range. If I take out a guy and I know another one's close by, I have a very low chance of being able to reload this gun before engaging the next target, just because 2.62 seconds and 3.3 seconds is a significantly long time in a close quarters engagement. Now, another thing that could make this gun very interesting is if DICE allowed us to equip attachments in the same manner that they did with the QBZ. And what I mean by that is allowing us to equip the laser sight and heavy barrel, increasing the hipfire accuracy significantly and also increasing the aiming down sight accuracy. So having the combination of those two attachments, I think, could make the A-91 a very interesting weapon. I still think it could benefit from a reload speed increase in addition to that, but I have a feeling having all of those changes made to this gun are going to be very unlikely. So that about wraps it up for my A-91 weapon review. It's fun to play with, but I really just don't think it brings anything to the table that really wows me in any particular area. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to rate it, and I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.